Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a Christmas edition. It's almost Christmas. New Year's. We'll have another show before New Year's. It's the Christmas edition of the Odds Honest Truth. We could restart this open, but I like it. I'm going to keep it. Gotta keep it in. Thank you so much for listening to this show this week and every single week. The Odds Honest Truth on the In the Money Media Network. Your one-stop shop for sports betting in any single sport that you're interested in. We have hockey when the NHL isn't suspended. We have college basketball. We have college football. We have professional basketball. We have the NFL. We got everything. We'll have baseball when that time comes around as well. We might sprinkle in a little UFC. We might sprinkle in a little boxing. We'll see where the show takes us. All this gets dictated by you. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Odds Honest Truth. Let us know what you want to hear on this show and what kind of bets you want to hear. And, of course, you got to get involved with us over on Chalkboard. Chalkboard is your one-stop destination for all things sports bet tracking and social integrations. Head on over to your app store, download the Chalkboard app, and join the Odds Honest Truth board. Let's get a live track here on our members. 410 members. Our goal was 400 by Christmas, but we want to blow this thing out of the water. Get involved today. Join Odds Honest Truth board. We got every single sport that you could want right here. Plus fun memes and announcements, ways to get involved. It's all waiting for you over on Chalkboard. Last night I shared a little NBA parlay winner, little two-team parlay winner on the NBA board. I've actually been pretty hot with the NBA lately, Rich. I'm trying to capitalize on this Caesars free jersey promo. Yeah. And like 4 of my last 5 have all hit. So not only am I going to get this free jersey, but I'm making a little bit of ka-ching on the old hardwood.
What's going to be the jersey? Do we know?
No, we don't. We do not. Probably a Knicks jersey, but we have a soft spot for Mr. Cole Anthony on the Orlando Magic.
We do. If you want to match, because that would be mine. But I mean, you're betting the Knicks and winning, which is something that I haven't done in about a month. So more power to you on that one.
Just a garbage matchup yesterday against the Detroit Pistons. Got to capitalize. But, Rich, let's dive right into some NFL action. It's been a weird week. There's been a lot of COVID in the air. We just had football yesterday, 2 games yesterday. Mm-hmm. And we got a game tomorrow. We get 1 day off here on Wednesday. So this is where we're going to use the time to talk about next week's games. Thursday night football, it's the San Francisco 49ers. It's the Tennessee Titans. And in my mind, you got 2 teams heading in opposite directions right now. You got a 49er team who's pretty red hot. I mean, they're winning games. I think they look good. I think they've won, 4 out of their last 5. The Titans, 2 of their last 3 have won. They came off of a tough loss last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Niners beat the dog poop out of the Falcons. So I think these teams are trending in different directions. Obviously, there's injuries. Obviously, there's COVID in the air. There's a lot of things to take account of. All that being said, I really like the Niners in this matchup. That's been one of my teams that I have been playing around with this NFL season. The spread right now, I believe, is at -2. Some sportsbooks might have it at -3. But I'm leaning towards the 49ers. What are some other things in this matchup you like?
I mean, I'm with you on the 49ers. With the way that they're playing, it's going to be a really pass-heavy game. Eli Mitchell is out for this game, which is kind of their bell cow. It seems like they have a new bell cow every other month, but he was their bell cow, heading into this game. So, with that being said, I really like Jimmy G to have over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think he's really, really fighting for his job. Trey Lance isn't getting on the field, and Jimmy G is saying, hey, maybe I should pull an Aaron Rodgers and keep him off the field for a longer period of time. With that being said, you need someone to throw it to. So I really am going to look for Kittle to get an anytime touchdown in this game. He's been on fire, absolutely on fire. Tight ends in the NFL these past couple of weeks have just been, putting the league on notice between, Kittle and Mark Andrews and, of course, Travis Kelce. Those 3 are winning you fantasy matchups, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But Deebo Samuel is my bread and butter for this team, for bets, for fantasy, for everything. He's on all my teams. He is going to go over his 42.5 yard receiving yard total here. He's also listed at 37.5 rushing yards, which is funny because Caesars knows that he's a Swiss Army knife. My bet of the week is Deebo Samuel over 3.5 receptions. I think he can do that in by the second quarter. And then to kind of finish it off, Juwan Jennings, got a soft spot for him. For me, obviously, he's wide receiver 3 behind Ayuk, but I think he gets the 19.5 receiving yards. He's kind of a favorite for Jimmy G behind Deebo. So all my bets are centered around the 49ers because I think the 49ers are going to win this game. And the Titans are really hard to bet right now because you don't know what's coming down the pipe with A.J. Brown. You don't know what's going to happen with Julio Jones, how long he can stay on the field, and their running back situations kind of all over the place. Give me the 49ers right down the board on Thursday.
Yeah, I really agree with you. I am a little afraid of Mr. Deebo. I am facing him this week in fantasy, but 4 receptions and 70 yards. It's fine. He could have that game, so he can.
11's not bad either way you slice it. I mean,
yeah. He could have that game. I'm pretty confident I could still pull out a W if that's his game. And then when you look at we're talking a little fantasy. We're in the fantasy football playoffs. When you look at the NFL playoff picture, the Titans are currently in first place. I don't think they're going to end in first place of the AFC South. But this is a team where if they can make it to the playoffs, they got a lot of people coming off of that IR where they could be a really dangerous team in the playoffs. A fresh Derrick Henry in, January football, that's a scary sight. I don't think any defense wants to see that. So they're one of those teams that I think if they can make it to the playoffs, they'd be a little interesting to bet because I think you'll get some pretty good value on them just kind of based on how they've been playing, but their team's really kind of incomplete. That being said, for this week, I don't see them winning at all. I think the 49ers win this one. -3, I think they probably can win by as much as 5. Or 5 or 7, I think it'll be a close enough game.
I don't think 6, right in the middle. They're gonna win by 6.
Yeah, exactly. But with the spread at -3, I'm pretty happy with that. Anything else you want to add about Thursday Night Football?
No, I mean, it's a good start to your fantasy matchup or a bad start to your fantasy matchup. If you have Kittle or Deebo, I think you're going to be happy. If you have anyone on the Titans like Foreman, I don't know if you're going to be so happy. So happy fantasy season.
Luckily, not luckily or unluckily, I'm not involved on Thursday Night Football in my fantasy matchups. So
that's also a great thing. I love not having a person on Thursday because if they have a terrible game, it just ruins your entire aspect of what's going to happen. So
exactly. Let's head on over to Saturday, Rich, Christmas Day. And actually, I don't know what games Stucast is going to talk about. I didn't pre-listen to the segment. So these games might be on Saturday. They might be whenever. So let's find out, shall we? Let's transition to a little college football, and then we'll come back to some Christmas Day professional football. Alan Studer, take it away. Tell me how I'm going to make some money betting the collegiate football.
Hey, Craig. Hey, Rich. Welcome back in. Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope your holiday week is fantastic. Got 2 games for you on the schedule. We're going to start in the Liberty Bowl. Mississippi State laying 9. A Mike Leach revenge game here as they take on the Red Raiders, who owe him some money. Now, Texas Tech, it's a Big 12 team that, this year they've been in some games that they shouldn't have and lost some games they probably shouldn't have. It's the same Texas Tech towards the end of the year that you've grown accustomed to, where they like to open it up a little bit. Mid-season coach firing, and part of that was a more conservative offense than what we're used to seeing out of Tech. Towards the end of the season, they started to air it out a little bit more. But I'm not a big fan of this Red Raider team, especially when they're going against Hail State. And the Bulldogs here, I think, own a serious advantage. And even though Left tackle Charles Cross is opting out for this game. I think they own a huge advantage at every position group, pretty much on the field. I expect Mike Leach to air it out, expect him to score points. Defensively, offensively, this is a team that Texas Tech is not really comfortable playing against. And I think 9 is, well within reach. I'm going to follow the Bulldogs here and Hail State. Second game, let's go up to New York City as Maryland takes on Vatec. Now, this was a complete toss-up until over the past weekend. Vatec has suffered some serious opt-outs. Willie Burmeister, the quarterback, he's in the portal. Their top 2 wide receivers, gone. Starting left guard, gone. 2 defensive linemen, 2 corners, gone. And these guys are all ACC team guys, whether it be 4th team or honorable mention, what have you. That's going to change the scope of this game. You're seeing the line reflect that. Maryland has crossed a key number in 3 at 3.5 currently. Talia Tagovailoa can sling it. And even though Demas got his main wide receiving target, got injured in that Iowa game, been out all year, Raheem Jarrett and some other pieces on that team, Davis Price, the running back, they're capable. And this Maryland team is capable of scoring. I'm not sure Vatec can keep up with the pace that Maryland's going to want to put out there. Mike Loxley needs to get that bowl victory, and I think he gets it here. Laying 3.5, if he can find 3, I'd be much happier with that. But we're going with the Terrapins, the Mighty Turtles, and the Bulldogs from Mississippi State. We'll have some more plays for you next week. College football playoff, New Year's 6. It's going to be a fun season. Have a great holidays, everybody, and be safe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Alan. And now we're going to transition over to the NBA. We've been having a lot of fun betting some NBA basketball. Jarrett's been throwing out a couple of winners here. He's the one who tipped me to a New York Knicks win last night against the Detroit Pistons. So he's definitely doing a good job for us, keeping an eye on all the matchups. And he's going to break down some Thursday night basketball games for you guys. Jarrett Strenner, take it away.
Hey guys, so just one national game on Thursday night. You have the Milwaukee Bucks going down to Dallas to play the Mavericks. Now this could be a weird one as the 2 biggest names could be out for this game. Giannis got put into health and safety protocol last week. There's a very, very small chance that he plays for this one, but I wouldn't bet on it. Meanwhile, Luka Doncic is out 100% for this game. He just got put into health and safety protocol Wednesday morning, so he is going to be out for this one. Now the Bucks, they're coming off a back-to-back. On Wednesday night, they play the Rockets. Drew Holiday isn't going to play in that one. They're letting him rest up, so he's going to be nice and fresh come Thursday night. Meanwhile, Chris Middleton, he's been battling some injuries. It looks like he's playing Wednesday, so just keep an eye out. See if he's going to play Thursday or if he's going to rest for that Thursday night game. Meanwhile, for the Mavericks, Kristaps Porzingis looks like he's going to probably be out for the Thursday night game. He injured his right foot earlier this week while they were playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. He came out of that game. They ended up doing some x-rays. They came back negative, but considering his injury history, I could see them just letting him rest for this game, making sure he's 100%. The Mavs will have Jalen Brunson, who really went off in that game against the Timberwolves. He put up some big points, played some big minutes, but against this Milwaukee Bucks team, if they have both Holiday and Middleton, I don't think it's going to be enough. I know the Bucks, they've had a rough last week. Without Giannis, they lost 3 out of their 4 games. But against the Mavs without Luka and without Kristaps, I could see them pulling this one off. Look for my picks on chalkboard, and I'll talk to you guys next week.
Thank you so much, Jarrett. A reminder, you can get all of these picks and plays via chalkboard. Download the app, join the Odds Honest Truth Board, and we share every single one of our bets and plays. You can also just kind of stalk some people in the community. You want to see how Rich has been betting lately. All you got to do is go find his profile, and you can see all of his bets. You can see all of my bets. It's a good way to kind of see how other like-minded players are thinking, and also just kind of, If you want to just tail people and follow them in blindly, you can. But also, you might realize, hey, this person's on a bit of a cold streak, and this is what they're saying. Maybe you want to fade my pick. I was on a cold streak for a minute, and fading my picks would have won you a ton of money. And I was very transparent that you should probably do the opposite of what I was saying. So, I think that it's a really cool community. It's a lot of fun. Get involved today. Chalkboard and the Odds Honest Truth board over there.
You can also go private now, Craig. It's a new feature that they added. If you don't want your bets to be out there and you just want to see them yourself, if you're sucking, you go private, and that's fine. No one knows the difference.
It's true. It's not as fun for me because I like to stalk people, but
yeah, me too.
But
Me too.
You have that option as well. So, Rich, let's get back over to the NFL. We have some Christmas Day action. We're gonna talk about the Indianapolis Colts against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are coming off of a shocking loss to the Detroit Lions. I used the Cardinals in a couple of parlays, and I will never bet against the Detroit Lions again. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But listen, this is a very cold team right now. I think this NFC West division is super tight. Every win matters. Every game matters. And it's like a matter of winning the division, making the play, or like not making the playoffs at all. Because almost everyone's within a game of each other. So it's really tight. And you got a Colts team that's trending upwards. I mean, they look really good the last couple of weeks. They're beating good teams. They're playing competitively. They're coming off of, I would say, 3 pretty dominant wins against the Patriots, Texans. They played the Bucs before this, but the Bills, I read this out of order. That Bucs game was a real close game. They're a real rock solid team. The Cardinals haven't looked quite right to me the last couple of weeks. This is a real tight spread as well. It's currently at 1, so it's a bit of a pick'em. I'll let you break the news now that I've teed this game up for the audience. Which way are you leaning in this game?
I'm definitely going Colts +1. To me, this is identical to the Bengals +2.5 last week, which was confusing to us, and obviously the Bengals won outright 15-10. The Cardinals are just not the same without DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, no team would be. It's the number 1 wide receiver on your team. You got a lot of reserves. You got Christian Kirk and AJ Green and people like that, but they're not DeAndre Hopkins. And the reason why I didn't put any Cardinals in any of my parlays last week, and I should have gave you this information, but I didn't know you bet.
It was a last-minute decision.
It was. I mean, yeah. But, I mean, remember how the Cardinals played against the Jaguars?
Yeah.
How I had all the money on the Cardinals, and, they going into halftime or they were losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
They played down to teams. And, I didn't know that they would get blown out by the Lions, but here we are. Welcome to the NFL. So, the Colts are coming off of a lot of good wins, like you said. The momentum kind of, shifted when they beat the Jets, honestly. I mean, when that happened, their whole season turned around. And getting a point with Jonathan Taylor there, and Pittman is healthy because he got ejected last game. Thank you for that, Pittman. There's a lot of players that are, playing well for the Colts right now, and not so much on the Cardinals side. The most consistent player in the Cardinals right now is Connor. He seems to score every single game. So if you want to do his anytime touchdown, by all means do it. DeAndre Hopkins being out kind of makes me want to bet the Kyler Murray over for the rushing yards, which is 27.5. But I mean, at the end of the day, the bet of the week, the bet of the year, the bet of the month is always a Jonathan Taylor anytime touchdown. Last game was very, very sweaty. I didn't think it was going to happen. And then pow, right in the kisser, there he goes. And he just ruins the Patriots' life. As a Jet fan, I loved it. I mean,
magical.
I was clapping, it was great. But yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a very happy Christmas for Carson Wentz, and not so much for the 5'3" Kyler Murray. But yeah, I mean, and the other game, I mean, I think we need to talk about it, even though it's really hard to bet right now because there's not a lot of player props up. The The Packers against the Browns, I think, is going to
Yeah.
be a better game than what people think it's going to be. You know, Baker seems very pissed right now, and a pissed off Baker usually is a good Baker. The spread right now is 7.5, and honestly, I don't know which way to bet at this point. You're going to have Baker coming back with Chubb. Landry's going to be off the COVID list, and then on the other side of things, you have a lot of players battling COVID on the Packers side. You know, you have Valdez-Scantling on the COVID list. Aaron Rodgers was one play away from maybe losing last week against the Ravens, who were not starting Lamar Jackson. So it's going to be a tough game. And, you know, I think COVID's going to really decide which way the spread goes on this. I think the Packers win. I just don't know by how much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if they're going to quite cover this. It depends a little on if we get the full strength Browns. I will say just real quick in the talking about the Ravens. I haven't caught a lot of Ravens games this season. The handful that I have, Lamar hasn't looked great, and the other ones that I've seen with Huntley at quarterback, this kid can ball. He's going to be starting for some team next season. He looks really good. He's not afraid in the big situations. I know he didn't win the game against the Packers, but he
wasn't his fault, though. Wasn't his fault. That was coaching. I mean, yeah. I get that you want to go for 2 and not go to overtime, but that was, to me, that was a bonehead call.
Yeah, and it's something Harbaugh does frequently. It's kind of like his thing at the end of those games, and sometimes it works. But man, like what a gutsy performance from Huntley. I think that I think we will continue to see him be an interesting name in the NFL for the next couple of years. We teased this game a little bit before, but let's talk about the Detroit Lions, because this has been one of my favorite teams to bet with, and they're not very well. Let me backtrack this. Their record's not very good. I do say the Lions are a very competitive team. They're always kind of in the mix of these games. They always play up to the competition. They play hard football. They're not winning, and they're not going to be a successful team for quite a bit. That being said, they're facing a Falcon team that I think is the most overrated football team in the world, and maybe ever. The way people talk about the way people talk about the Atlanta Falcons still is like they're the Super Bowl team from a couple of years ago.
Who are you talking to?
Oh, I don't. I have a lot of Falcons fans on my Twitter feed, and it's not good. But seriously, this Falcon team is it's a joke. And when you look at what the Lions were able to do last week against a very good Arizona Cardinal team, defensively specifically, how they were able to shut down that explosive offense, I really like them this week. I think they could win this week against what I think is a very, very weak Falcon team. The Falcons are coming off of a big loss last week against the 49ers. They just don't look like a good football team. That also said, the Falcons are great against the spread. They are 7.5-point underdogs. Even if they don't win, I don't think the Falcons are a touchdown better than them. I think if the Falcons manage to pull off a win here, it'll be by like a field goal or 4 points. So I'm taking the Lions. I wrote plus 5.5, but as I just looked right now, it's up to 7.5. So it depends on your sports book of choice. But I'm comfortable at anywhere from like 5.5 and obviously higher. Betting the Lions.
Yeah, if it's 7.5, I'm Lions all day long. I mean, they have Swift coming back. The Swift and Jamal Williams combo is great. And also, you might want to do the Amon-Ra St. Brown anytime touchdown, because he's kind of becoming like a Jonathan Taylor. You know, he was my hidden gem all these weeks back. If you want to go back and listen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I have people texting me, I only know this guy because he told me about him. And I was like, well, good. He's on your fantasy team. You won. Good job. But, yeah, no, he's definitely an up-and-coming player. He's going to be wide receiver 1. I said it last week, and look what he did last week. He blew it up. I think he had 17 fantasy points. So he's going to do that again against this weak Falcons defense.
He's a beast. Why don't we throw out another game for me, Rich? Who do you like?
Eagles, minus 9.5 versus the Giants. Eagles started slow on Tuesday, and then, you know, they went from 20 miles an hour to 80 really quickly in the second half there. and then they held on and they did cover the spread against the Washington football team. The Giants, to me, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Glennon or Fromm. It's not going to be a good performance. They just don't have the roster right now. They probably have one of the weakest rosters in the NFL. Saquon Barkley, he's not going to ever come back the same after his injuries. And you don't really know who's going to be healthy there. The coaching is kind of piss poor, I'll put it that way. And their general manager needs to be out the door too. So 9.5. I think the Eagles can win by multiple touchdowns. It's kind of the same thing that happened last week with the Cowboys. I like it. I think the Eagles are definitely going to win this game, and it's going to probably be like something like a 21-7 type game. Not super flashy, but a dud for the Giants.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with you here. The Eagles scare me a little bit to bet with because I feel like they're just a little hot and cold, for lack of a better term. And you don't always know what you're getting out of them. But the Giant team, you do know what you're getting out of them, and it's bad football. So I'm with you on this. I like the Eagles -9.5. Another game, Rich, that I'm really interested in. I'm always fascinated by the Los Angeles Rams. They're an exciting team. They've invested a lot into this team. The spread right now is at -3 against the Minnesota Vikings. And I think the Rams have finally kind of connected all the dots. And I think they're back to playing championship caliber football. A couple of tune-up games, they beat the dog poop out of the Jags and they got the ship right. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Seattle Seahawks last week. You look at this Viking team, they are able to get wins against Chicago and Pittsburgh. They lost to Detroit, who we talked about before. They lose to San Francisco. I'm just not a huge Viking fan. I think that they start games hot. They have a hard time closing out football games, whereas I think the Rams are a little bit more of a second half football team. I think the Rams are a team kind of getting ready to make a Super Bowl run, and the Vikings are kind of in the way of that, for lack of a better term. The spread is low enough where I like the spread here because I think at the end of the day, the Rams are probably just a touchdown better. I think they have a little too much talent and they have a little bit more of that X factor to close out football games.
Yeah, I mean, and this game is the perfect lead-in to another game, which it's their opponents from last week, the Bears and the Seahawks, who they both beat.
Oh, yeah.
The Vikings beat the Bears, and the Rams beat the Seahawks, and they're both terrible. So I mean, that's kind of, in a word, terrible. The over/under of this game is 42.5, and I'm betting the under. I don't really want to touch anything else in this game. I would love to bet an anytime touchdown, but Metcalf can't even get in. And if you bet someone on the Seahawks, if it wasn't DJ Dallas, you weren't happy. So for me, I mean, it's this two teams that are basically eliminated already. Just two teams that are just face planting. Which, as a Jets fan, I love because the Seahawks currently have the 8th overall pick in the draft. So keep face planting, but I think they beat the Bears, but I'm not touching this game besides the under. It's going to be a snore fest. You might want to just not watch it at all.
Yeah, I don't think Red Zone is going to be touching that game also. Let's talk about a game in our division, Rich, in the AFC East. We got the Buffalo Bills against the New England Patriots. Last time these two teams faced off, the Pats kind of just beat the snot out of the Bills.
Well, I mean, that was 30-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, I mean, different. I was gonna get into it.
Well, the snot was on their face because it was blistering cold. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
it
wasn't hard to beat. I mean, it's already there.
Yeah, but I mean, the Bills are a cold weather team. They should, they should also be able to show up and play in these cold games.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. But let's see what happens this time around. The Bills have been a very hot and cold type of team. They started the season out incredibly hot, and they're not really winning the competitive football games. We'll put it like that. They're not winning against the good teams. They're winning against mediocre and bad teams. Last week they had, as you and I like to call it, a chicken noodle soup game against the good old Carolina Panthers. Mm-hmm. And the Patriots got embarrassed by the Indianapolis Colts. But prior to that, they were on a major win streak, including wins against the Bills, the Titans, the Falcons, and the Browns. You know, at the end of the day, I think that for me, I think that the Bills are just the more talented football team. I think that they got Diggs and they have Josh Allen, they have a stout defense. I like their coaching. I just think that they have a little bit more pieces together to win these kinds of football games this time of year, and maybe without the win factor, they can get the win. They are also catching points here at 2.5. There's something in my gut that tells me that the Patriots are going to win for whatever reason, but everything logical in my brain is going Bills.
I'm going with Cobra Kai. I really like the revenge angle, so I'm going with Miguel to win here, aka the Buffalo Bills. And I think that they're going to win outright. I think, but I mean, getting points for someone who I think is the favorite is something that I'm always going to bet. We did it last week with the Bengals with this exact spread. I just think the Pats right now, they're just going in the opposite direction. I mean, both these teams are going to be in the playoffs. It's just now it's a battle for who wins the division. And, I like it. I'm in this division as a Jets fan. We were never going to win it. So, I mean, this is fun. Your enemies are facing each other. But they're healthy right now. The Bills are healthy at the end of the day. I mean, that's what's going to matter. Like you said, Josh Allen, Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders. Gabriel Davis is someone that I'm going to bet anytime touchdown because he is on a tear right now. And Singletary's coming out of nowhere, off the top rope. I mean, you thought he was dead on the bench. He said, "Zach Moss, sit down. It's my time." So he's taking over that run game. And the pass side of things, if you have Hunter Henry, you're a happy guy in these fantasy playoffs. 2 touchdowns last week. Definitely someone that I would look at for an anytime touchdown. I think he's going to go over his yards as well. But then, you just kind of have a mismatch of guys. And, we talked about that coming into the season. You have like a Kendrick Bourne or Nelson Aguilar or N'Keal Harry. There's no like number one guy there. So they're going to rely heavily on their run game, which Stevenson probably will go over his yardage. But I mean, it's just the defense is going to have to win this for the Pats yet again. So I look for Josh Allen to have that interception. I think without a doubt he's going to have at least one. But give me the Bills.
Too much of a gunslinger to not like.
Yeah, he throws it around. So I'm surprised he's not at 1.5 this game. He's you got to give him the Zach Wilson line for this one. But
yeah,
give me the Bills for sure.
So, Rich, we got 2 more games on our spreads here, and then we'll talk a little fantasy football. Let's talk about our New York Jets for a minute. They're facing another pretty garbage team in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah. We'll call it a toilet bowl of sorts. Former number 1 pick against former number 2 pick in the NFL draft. We got Lawrence and oh wow, I'm Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
I was like, I'm blanking on our own quarterback. That's not good. I just got a T-shirt with his face on it for Hanukkah. I'll show it to you later. It's pretty funny. But let's just real quick 50-50 coin flip because that's what the spread is. Who do you like in it?
COVID made me pick the Jags. I mean, the Jets have 17 players on COVID right now,
plus the head coach,
plus their head coach. So they, Michael Carter, who's probably their best healthy player right now on offense, is out with COVID. We'll see if he clears. If he clears, maybe it's a coin flip. But Zach Wilson can't throw it to himself. So either they bring in a bunch of reserves or the healthier team's going to win. That's just what happens with COVID. So give me James Robinson anytime. Give me James Robinson over. Trevor Lawrence is garbage. But Zach Wilson's gonna have to put the team on his back when he's not there yet. So in a coin flip, I'm taking the Jags.
And then last game, I don't know why we saved this one for last because it's another piss poor football game. But that's the way the cookie crumbled. We have the Los Angeles Chargers against the Houston Texans. The spread's at 10, and it's again just 2 teams trending in 2 very different directions. You gotta love the Chargers in this matchup.
I mean, the Chargers coming off of that really devastating loss last week to the Chiefs. I mean, they had the game in the bag. It's just a lot of stupid decisions by their coach, Brandon Staley. If he would have got the points, this wouldn't have been an overtime game. It would have been a win, and instead they lost. So I think he's going to play a little more conservatively, but you're not going to have to worry about it against the Texans. Austin Eckler has the COVID, so we'll see if he's in. If he's not, doesn't matter because last week, Jackson and Kelly actually outrushed him. So I think the Chargers are clicking on all cylinders, looking for Keenan Allen to get in the end zone, Mike Williams to have himself a day, and then the over for the Jarrett Cook receptions, because there's going to be a lot of garbage time in this game. So Texans, sorry. That's all I can say.
And guys, that's going to do it for our bet breakdown. Rich and I have not decided what we're going to do live stream wise this weekend. It seems highly unlikely that we will do a Christmas Day live stream to talk about that game. So probably Sunday, probably at the crack of noon like last week, where I ended up soloing because Rich forgot about a brunch.
It was really good brunch, though. I got a Belgian waffle with a nice cream cheese, it was almost like a cake.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then a side of authentic thick pork roll. It was great.
I don't know what pork roll is. We have Taylor Ham up here.
Well, we got to put that on his Twitter. So poor guy doesn't know the company.
Doesn't even know. Don't even know. But let's talk some fantasy. We've teased it a little bit throughout the show. It's fantasy football playoffs. We share a league. There's a couple of matchups, and I'm not sure exactly how you want to do this exactly.
Let's do our league because, you're facing someone, and I'm facing someone, and if we win, we're in the championship game against each other, which would only be, fitting because we would split probably $2.40.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you didn't pay yet.
So, Rich, let's run through our lineups. Let's talk about these semifinals here. So the team I got going, I'm currently projected to win. I don't really know how, because I'm very afraid of this other team that I'm facing, but I'm currently projected to win. I have Joe Burrow at quarterback against the Baltimore Ravens. I have Najee Harris against the Kansas City Chiefs. I got Sony Michel starting against the Minnesota Vikings. Not my favorite, but this used to be Leonard Fournette in this slot. And so,
he seems to be the starter, so
yeah.
He out-snapped Henderson.
Yeah, so this is what we're going to go with. We got Stephon Diggs at wide receiver 1. We got Devontae Adams at wide receiver 2. We're starting Cole Kmet at tight end. This used to be Robert Tonyan once upon a time.
I like Kmet better. I do.
Yeah. We currently have Antonio Gibson in the flex. I know he had an injury on Tuesday, and where he came back into the game. We don't know, right? But he's been a very rock solid performer. If he doesn't come back, I am in a little bit of trouble, and we'll have to dive into the bench and start someone I'm not too happy about. We got DK Metcalf currently as well in the second flex position, keeping an eye on his injury situation. We got McPherson, the kicker from the Bengals, and the Chargers defense against the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
I'm facing off against a lot of names that Rich likes to bet. We got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, Jonathan Taylor at running back, Connor. This is probably where hopefully our opponent updates his lineup, because I would feel guilty winning this way. He's got Brandon Cooks in at wide receiver, who's on the COVID list.
That happened about an hour ago, so he'll do it eventually. Yeah.
He'll get there.
Yeah.
We got Deebo Samuel. We got Noah Fant. We got Darrell Williams on the Chiefs. We got David Montgomery on the Bears. We got Mr. Harrison Butker on the COVID list at kicker, and the Arizona Cardinals defense. So obviously he'd have to update that COVID list situation. I have some players on the injury watch situation. Like I said, I'm currently projected to win by about 30 points, but if he gets the right two players back in there, this is a very, very close ball game.
I'm very happy I don't face either of you this week. I'm gonna hopefully squeak it out against Marcus, but his team is pretty stout too. Based on right now, I think you win. It's just we gotta see who comes back from the good old vid list there. But that's a whale of a matchup. And obviously his weak link right now is Darrell Williams. But that man almost got into the end zone 3 different times last week.
Yeah.
And as a Clyde Edwards-Helaire owner, I wasn't happy about it.
No.
And Clyde, he didn't score because we bet him. So he got the 2-point conversion, so he salvaged 8 points. But it's gonna be a tough one. But whoever wins out of this, I think is gonna win the league. We're gonna talk about my matchup here, and normally Tom Brady, a quarterback as an MVP candidate is a good thing, but not when you lose your starting wide receiver and Chris Godwin, your wide receiver 2 and Mike Evans is or Mike Evans is 1, who knows, but is also hobbled, then you lose your starting running back. So I don't know if I'm going to start Brady, but he's in there right now. Going against Matt Ryan, who is against your Detroit Lions, which, the Falcons are going to score. It's just a matter of how much.
3 points.
Yeah. The running back matchup, he's definitely got me cooked because he's got Dalvin. And he has Mixon. Yeah, thank you. Cook and Mixon, one of the top 10 this year. I have Ezekiel Elliott, and normally I have Austin Eckler as my running back too. But right now he's in my flex because he's got the vid. Running back 2 right now is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which we just talked about, who's going up, as the week goes on. And then the wide receivers, I got barely squeaked over him. He's got Cooper Kupp, who is the best wide receiver in the NFL.
It's a monster. I love him so much.
Yes, but he has Rondale Moore as his second wide receiver. The only reason I squeak it out is because I have Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, who equal a little bit more than that. So tight end, he's got me beat again. He's got Mark Andrews, and I have Schultz. It's not that far off, but it's far off. Singletary, he has at running back in his flex, and Tyler Lockett, who just got over the vid, still on the vid list right now. And I got Hollywood Brown, and I got Austin Eckler in there right now. If everyone's healthy, my side wins slightly. But if Austin Eckler doesn't play and Tyler Lockett plays, that's also, it's going to be interesting. I got Gay as my kicker and Chiefs defense, and he has Hopkins as his kicker and Cowboys defense. I think he's got my number on this one. He almost lost last week, and I was like, Marcus, you didn't even start a player and you won. He's like, well, that's showbiz, baby, which is not what he said, but he's not as interesting through text. The only thing that I'm kind of questioning in my lineup, I have Ronald Jones in my bench, so I'm going to try to put him in there. Obviously, if Austin Eckler has
Eckler's out, you put Rojo in.
Yeah, that's an easy one. But if Eckler plays, Eckler's in there. It's just a matter of who I'm going to, switch around here. There's a lot of options on my bench. There's not really a lot of options on his bench. But at the end of the day, he doesn't really need them. If his starting lineup plays, I think you're going to be playing him next week. But we'll see what happens. My other 2 leagues much better. But that's
the only thing I'll say about his team is he's got a couple of players who are coming off of just like back-to-back monster performances. And it's kind of rare where you see that happen 3 weeks in a row. It's rare
unless your name is Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, I just had it open. He had 2 very good games in a row, but like 3 games ago, it was like mediocre. It was.
Are we looking at the same man here?
Oh, no, never
mind. You're not.
I was looking at Mark Andrews. I lie about Cooper Kupp.
Let's go through Cooper Kupp real quick.
Cooper Kupp's a monster and a half. I was looking at Mark Andrews.
Okay. Week 1, 23.8. Week 2, 36.8. Week 3, 30.6. Week 4, he had 11.4.
Mediocre.
Whatever. For most people, you'd be like, yay, he got 11. Then he got 16.2. Then he got 34. Then he got 37 and a half, 24 and a half, 20 and a half, 23.2.
Well, what happened week 11? A goose egg. Oh, right. Bye week. Sorry.
Yep. The last 2 weeks, 31.3, 34.7. This man is going to smoke the Minnesota Vikings like a nice hashish. Yeah. It's going to be a bloodbath. So, I expect at least 25 out of him. It's just a matter of how I kind of rebound from that. And I don't know if it can.
Because you know what? I will say maybe there's a world in which that game can turn into a bit of a shootout. And Jefferson could have a very big game too.
Yes.
So
let's see what happens. Also, Hollywood is kind of a toss-up for me right now. He had a good game last week, but it all came in garbage time. So if I can Rojo him, that's probably where I'm going to Rojo if Eckler plays. I'll feel a lot more comfortable there. But, I'm projected to lose by 9, which that's fair. But we'll have to see.
One of your players currently is projected at 0. I think it's Eckler.
Yes, Eckler's at 0. If you want to put Rojo in there by now, I'll be projected to win by 4. But I think the losing by 9 is more accurate right now. So I'm going to keep that and just, keep my hunger alive But Marcus is always hard. Marcus last year beat me in my dynasty league for my first loss of ever. I won 2 straight years of games, and he beat me in the championship. So
I think if he beats you, we should have him on next week.
We should.
Yeah.
And he's also the dynasty league, the other one I'm talking about. We're also in the top 4, but we're not facing each other. We'd face each other in the championship again, which I hate. Well, I'm rooting against him heavily.
Perfect. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to this week's edition of the Odds Honest Truth right here on the In the Money Media Network. Big shout outs to Peter Thomas Fornatel, Jonathan Kinchin, Drew Coatney, and all the other fine folks on the In the Money Media Network. Thank you so much to our friends over at Chalkboard. Make sure to get involved. Download the app for free. Join the Odds Honest Truth board for free and get access to all kinds of picks, plays, betting advice, fantasy sports advice, or anything else. Just share your opinion. Show off how smart you are, because you're probably pretty smart, better there at home too, betting along with all of us, making more money than anyone can imagine. And you're not sharing your bets with us on Chalkboard. I think that's selfish. Get involved today over on Chalkboard so that you can share your sports betting knowledge as well. Make sure to follow us on Twitter down below at Seagorps94, at Coda522, or at Odds Honest Truth. All kinds of great content coming there as well. We'll be going live on Sunday at the crack of noonish to give you our kind of last minute player props and spreads, maybe a couple parlays. Who knows? We have a lot of fun on that Sunday live stream.
You'll still be very full from your Christmas, so it's not just me liking to sleep. You got the nice big Christmas meal. You double dip. You gotta let them know you double dip.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be a real fun weekend. Everyone have a Merry Christmas for those who celebrate. If you don't celebrate, just have a nice weekend. Whatever. It's fine. It's all good. Thank you so much for listening to this show. Again, I'm Craig Gorbanoff. That was Rich. Thanks so much to Jarrett and Alan for joining us tonight. And until next time, allegedly, that'll do her.